What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 4, the season premiere. And it was called Chapter 58 in Memoriam.
Yeah. And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups at the end of the podcast, the live stream, the podcast, whatever you call this thing. And don't forget, guys, we are having a contest right now. If you go to iTunes and you leave us a comment, 5-star review under Riverdale or AHS, you enter for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card plus a ticket. So you should go and do that because you're obviously here, you like us. We could use the 5 stars.
We can use the 5 stars. We can use the love.
So go do that.
And you have a chance to win some shmoney. And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the episode, y'all.
I think we have so much to discuss, and I'm so excited to be back with an episode that I am 100% behind, fully confident in. I love this episode, and we haven't said this in a long time.
It's really funny because I always, during our summer breaks, and sometimes just when I'm, bored out of my mind, selfishly, I, listen to our old podcasts, and I feel like we said the exact same thing in the beginning of season 3.
We're so hopeful.
It's gonna be so good. And then season 3 happened, and then we're like, okay, that. But I do feel like this definitely had a vibe that was really bringing us back to something different.
One of the things that Roberto and I think some of the cast was saying that this episode is a standalone episode, and I was like, why standalone? Just keep doing what you just did.
Yeah.
Don't be so alone. Bring it into the other episodes.
Don't be so alone.
Because it was so well done, and they just nailed the tone of what this episode was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yes, it was sad. Yes, it was a goodbye, but it was also we're gonna do Fred Andrews and Luke Perry right.
Yeah.
And they did that.
They did such an amazing job.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna go and do it our old school style and break down the episode, basically moment by moment, because we know that you guys like that. So it starts off with Jughead's narration, as it normally would, and he's basically saying, it's summertime, everybody's kind of moved on with their lives, things have kind of resolved themselves. Basically saying season 3.
He's basically
what's season 3?
He's like, there was never a season 3. He's like, we are now in senior year. Just keep watching. It's gonna be good.
Please don't cancel our show.
Forget everything that happened last
year. And we're back at summer because last season it did the same thing. It was the tail end of the summer, so that's July 4th weekend basically.
And you know what's really funny? And I only noticed it when Cheryl made this point. That July 4th is where the pilot started.
Yes.
Oh my God, I got goosebumps.
Oh, yeah. And
it's all where Jason's death was. And it all kind of started around that.
Yeah.
So it is eerie.
It is eerie. And we'll get to that in a second. But so they're having an Independence Day parade. And then it cuts to Jughead writing, and then he's showing Betty a submission. So I think that's also a lead in because we know that he's gonna get into a prep school soon.
Right.
So I think this is the submission for that school. And so he shows it to her and she's like, this is amazing. You're gonna 100% get the scholarship. She's just so excited for him. And then it cuts to VARCHIE, of course, they're in bed together at the Pembroke. And they all just get ready, and then they go to Pops, meeting everybody. But before that happens, it shows Cheryl, and she's just walking down the hall. She's like, "Yay, morning!" And she sits beside her, or she sits in front of her dead brother.
She's like, "Hey, JJ."
She's like, "Hey, JJ, let's read."
I was like, "Oh, we're gonna start this off like that quick."
I was like, "Okay, I guess this is still happening." I guess they can't ignore the fact that
they can't ignore it.
A Luke Perry episode, they still had to talk about the fact that she cray.
Yeah, right? She cray, and I think it's gonna be. I think they're gonna deal with it quickly.
I
hope.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know if you guys watched that trailer, but there's a doll involved later on.
Oh my God.
Named Julian, which is spoiler alert.
My name.
But I'm not a white redheaded doll, so that's the difference. But anyway, she gets pissed off because she reads that they're doing the parade, so she storms off to Pops. And at that point, I didn't really know why she was angry. I was why are you pissed?
Jughead does say in his little narration, he's like the Blossoms were always in charge of the fireworks because they had the most money, and since that time, they haven't done it, so they just stopped doing it.
They just stopped doing it.
That's why I think she got cheese because she's like, that's my family's tradition.
I think just because they
Plus,
also said since 3 years ago, since his death, they didn't celebrate
yeah,
as a town
yeah.
since he died
They were
that
too
weekend.
busy doing weird shit.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's like the slow motion. I like the music that they started off with was really like lit and fun. And
Yeah.
Cheryl like obviously trumps in and she's like, "What the hell are you guys doing? It's all your guys' fault that we're having this thing in the first place." And of course, I had to write it down because I was like, I know this episode's gonna get sad, but I still want to give a shout out to
Yeah.
KJ Appa's abs.
Oh, I missed him. I missed it a lot. Like I forget.
I missed his abs. He's a really good looking
Yeah. And like
guy.
honestly, like let's just take a moment of silence for the abs, but also a moment of silence for his acting because he was so freaking good this episode.
He did such a great job.
He really broke my heart. Like
Yeah.
there were so many moments that like he just crushed me with his acting. And I don't think anyone really, it's a really high standard to do an episode like this. Like,
for sure.
you know.
So 100%. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later anyway.
Yeah.
But so she rolls in and she's really pissed that they're doing this 4th of July thing because of Jason. And they're like, well, what am I going to do? And basically Veronica's like, I'm rich, so I can do whatever I want now.
She's like, I'm paying for it.
They all just say like, let's go have breakfast. They like leave Cheryl in the dirt. Like she like didn't even get invited to breakfast. So she's like, don't worry, I already had breakfast with my brother.
Ew. What did they eat? Maggots?
So they were planning a camping trip initially.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think we're ever going to see that camping
That's never
trip.
going to happen. No.
But I will say that it's funny because they do throughout the fact that, or Jughead says, and if we do bump into a bear, like at least Archie.
Oh my god, I died. Because Veronica's like ill. She's like camping.
Yeah.
And then Jughead's like, don't worry, like there's no bears. Like, and even if there is, like Archie's got us because he basically fought a bear last season. Like I feel like this whole season's gonna be like them ripping on last season and like throwing jokes.
Which
and I'm so down for that. Like that's gonna be so funny.
Because I feel like they need to make fun of themselves. That was a ridiculous season. So this is when everything just gets sad. So he gets the phone call while he's at Pops, and he's like, "Dad," because it's like his phone.
It was Fred's face.
It shows his face on the phone, and he's assuming that it's his dad. And then he stands up, and like it's just pure silence. And then like the camera's like, meow, like it just like tilts, and then he like kind of collapses to the floor. Everybody comes by, and then you find out like then it just cuts straight to. Oh my God, this is the moment that got me. Like, this is one of the first moments that got me. The dog.
Oh. Done. First of all, I was already done by this moment. But then I saw the dog and I was like.
He was waiting by the door.
And crying. Like the sound effects. I can't.
So
like, they
sad.
brought Vegas in just for that moment.
Yeah.
And he was the MVP of the episode. He had like 12 frames and he broke my heart.
I was like, don't start with an animal,
like,
please.
don't bring a dog into this.
This story is depressing me. So Effie is the one that tells them what happens to Fred.
Yeah.
He gets hit by a car while he's helping another car that was broken down on the road. And it's a hit and run. So Archie's obviously like really pissed. He's like ready to get his revenge. You asked me this offline, but I want to ask you again, and I want to ask our listeners, what did you think on what they set him up dying as?
You know what? When it first happened, I was like, oh, here we go. Thought it was total cheese. The way they wrapped it up, to me, everything made sense. I loved it. I think it was the perfect way for his story to end. That still involved Archie in a little bit, like still involved like Fred being a hero. Like it had all the elements that you would want to wrap his story up.
For sure.
And so I loved it. In the end, I loved it.
Yeah.
I was like, no,
because I think that like you always ask in a situation like this, I'm sure it's such a rare thing that happens when a character in real life dies and then they have to kill off the character in a
very
show.
rare, very rare.
And when it happens, how do you deal with it? Like, do you get him actually doing something, or do you actually say like, yeah, he had a heart attack and he died? Like, how do you deal with it? And you're right. I think in the beginning I was like, I don't know how I felt about it, but now I'm kind of just saying.
Just reading the comments.
Yeah, I think it was a good way they wrapped it up.
Yeah.
And I think the way that the story kind of moves and who you meet along the way
Yeah,
and how
everything
Archie
fit
kind of
into
deals with
place.
it. It just like
You
it
know,
works really well.
Roberto did say, he's like, we always knew that Fred's story would come to an end. He's like, we were never gonna leave it open ended because he's like, that's
Yeah.
so disrespectful to like the actor, and you know, like we knew we had to give him a send off, and he's like, our biggest task was like, do we do it before season 3 ends, or do we, you know, kind of tackle it in season 4? And he's like,
Right.
we really had to sit down and say, we need to give this time. We need to take a break emotionally, because I'm sure for them, like they were all traumatized.
For sure.
You know, and he's like, we had to get back and like sit down, write season 4, and like start off season 4 with his story.
Yeah.
I think it totally made sense. I think they did everything right. Everything was perfect. Like literally like 100 over 100, like perfect score. You guys did amazing on the test. Like,
Tina Ann in the chat says, I was wondering how Fred would die, and I think it was a good choice. Fred was, and his story is complete. Like there's no mystery around it.
And that's the thing what J-Lag was saying too. He texted me. He's like, I just don't want this to like trickle on. Like, you know, Archie's gonna get revenge, and like it just would have felt so cheesy. But they
Yeah.
wrapped it up beautifully. Really.
They did a really, really good job
So-
with it. So then it cuts to the coroner, and she tells them like the whole situation, like where he is. He's kind of like in another town, like down the way, and his car's still there, his body's still there. It's going to cost X amount of money, and obviously, like Veronica was like, "Don't worry, I'll deal with it." And they say that you know, his body's not going to be able to be moved until after July 4th, so he's not going to be there for like the celebration. And at that point in time, actually, when I was watching, I was like, they can't drag this to 2 episodes. Like I thought they were actually going to move it, like the funeral, into like its own thing, and I was like, no, I hope that they don't do that, which obviously they don't. So then they have another amazing moment where everybody, like all the kids, are sitting in the backyard, which we've never seen before. Like I don't know what backyard this
shout out
is.
to the backyard location setting. Shout out. It was like, it's such a cute, and we saw it in the promo pics leading up to the season premiere, but like honestly, like it was such a cute location to have. I can't believe they spent 3 seasons without his backyard.
I know.
Because it's so cute. It's so Archie. It's so Riverdale. Like,
it's
you know,
small
for the
backyard.
friends to hang out in the
Just like-
backyard. Like, it was such a cute feeling. And all the big moments happened in that location this last night's episode.
For sure.
So, no, I loved it. I hope they keep it. Like, I hope they
know,
didn't
I hope
demolish
use
it like
as
right
a-
after.
as a moment, for sure. So they all kind of share stories. I wrote a few down. One of them was
I'm gonna
You're
die.
gonna laugh.
I'm gonna die.
Betty says a really sweet one where she says how there was like a father-daughter potato sack race, and essentially
She's
like Hal was I don't know,
Yeah,
killing
she's-
people.
yeah,
or...
and my dad wasn't even there.
So she says like Fred was her dad for the day, and I was like, "Wah." It was really sad. And then Jughead has obviously like such a tie to Fred, because even since season 1, Fred was that father that he didn't have, or who was absent. Like he was taking care of my drunk father, and also making sure that I was eating, because like we were poor, and like it was a very sweet moment.
And then Veronica says,
your dad was such a gentleman.
it was like crickets. I was like, what? Like, girl, he didn't take you on a date. Like, what has that to do with gentleman? Like, seemed like he was a great father. Like why gentleman? Like,
He was such a gentleman.
he treated my mom so good in that construction trailer. We saw it. Like, why?
Like, it was so random.
The wording was just a little weird,
And
but
like
whatever.
it's true. Like we also talked about this offline. Like she helped him fully with his,
With his
campaign.
campaign.
So
Like,
you'd think that she would have at least brought that up, but like she does not bring that up at all.
It was cute, and you know what? I think what made this scene so special was seeing all the actors. You could see it was real. Like it was so freaking real.
Yeah.
And like they all, like Jughead, like Cole Sprouse, like him getting through his lines, you could tell it was so hard. Casey Cott's in the back, like bawling his eyes out.
I was just gonna
like
say
Casey Cott was
like
losing
Casey
it.
isn't Kevin in that moment. He's like crying.
Yeah.
Like he's very like visually upset. And then Archie starts to tell a story, and then he begins to break down, and then he has to leave. He's like, I can't do this. And one thing that we did want to talk about really quickly in this moment, because it's probably the only time we're going to talk about it. But we're going to talk about it. Why not? Like, I think that
we should do like a warning, like warning. If you don't want to hear about BARCHIE,
like,
don't listen
just
right now.
Fast forward to the next part of this part. But
what we both noticed, it was funny because we both noticed
we talked
it.
about it after, and we both noticed it.
In that whole scene, and I watched it over like a couple of times just to like understand everything. But in that scene, when Archie's talking and when Betty's talking, Archie and Betty are in the same frame. When the camera's on them, they're always together.
Yeah.
And then when it's Veronica, talking to Archie or whoever, she's on her own. So I assumed, I'm like, oh, she's sitting far from Archie, like she's not right by him.
Yeah.
But then on the wide shot, she is right by him.
She's right
And I just found
there.
it weird that like as his girlfriend, like why isn't their frame like together? Why is like Betty and Archie together?
Why are Betty and Archie together?
And then
like as he leaves, the camera kind of pans and like directly
at Betty.
stays and holds on Betty. And I was like, that's weird.
Like, why not his girlfriend? Like,
Why not his girlfriend?
Why did Veronica say, hey, like, where is he going? No,
Yeah.
it was like fully Betty being like, oh man,
She's like, oh, he's so
to the
sad.
point where like I thought she was gonna go like after him and like they were
Like,
gonna have
they
a
were
moment.
gonna have a moment like them two because
Yeah.
they were like childhood friends or whatever.
What
but
did you
they-
guys think? What they say about
I
this?
would love
Because I
to know what
wonder
you
if
guys
anyone
think.
else noticed that Barchie.
We're gonna move
moment.
on, but like we could definitely yes.
Yeah. Throw us.
Sierra in the chat says, "I wish Betty and Archie would have shared a scene by themselves."
It almost felt like maybe they even shot it and they just didn't air it.
Because all the Barchie fans were gonna cover it up.
They're like, not yet.
They're like, they're gonna start World War IV, World War III.
Damn, you skipped over 3.
Yeah. So, what am I saying? I kind of lost my place.
Yeah. So after that moment.
After that moment, he leaves. He's like, I can't do this right now. And then
And I just want to say right here, and in other moments too, I noticed that they chose not to even have dialogue. And I think that was so powerful. Like even in this moment, like Archie could have sat there and been like, nah, but like
Yeah.
he didn't. He just got up and he left. You know, at the funeral home, like the girls don't even say anything. Like there were moments in this episode where like they used silence so much and it was so powerful. You know, where they could have filled it up with a script line.
yeah.
And that would have been like, it wouldn't have felt right. But I think they just did so well. The episode was so good.
It was really well done. So it cuts to like nighttime and it shows Archie and Veronica and they're sleeping in his room and he hears like commotion downstairs. So Archie leaves his bed and he goes downstairs and he sees his grandpa like in a suit.
This scene got me, man.
just
Again, I was
sitting there.
triggered. Like I literally wrote down all my trigger moments. I was like, cried.
Triggered. So he's downstairs and Archie's like, what's going on? Like, Grandpa, like, what are you doing down there? And the grandpa's like, well, I'm waiting for your dad. And
He's like, tell him.
Archie's
Like, go get him.
well, where is he? Like, he should be with you already. And then his grandpa says, like, come with me. Archie goes downstairs and it's like basically the entire
The whole
Riverdale
cast.
Like,
Yeah.
they're all wearing black. They're all
Like
sitting
Ben
at a
was
table.
there.
Like-
Why?
Like, who?
Why Ben?
Ben was there?
Yeah, he's in like the beside Cheryl. I was like, wait,
So
what?
random.
Why Ben?
Jason was there. I saw Jason.
Jason. Well, okay, I get Jason maybe.
Ben.
But why
I didn't
Ben?
even see Ben. That's so random. Like, but everybody was there. Like the black,
Yeah.
like Hal was there, and it was funny because we were both really confused because in the credits, like as the show starts, obviously it shows like who's guest starring, who's going to be in the episode, and it said Lachlan Monroe, it said Natalie Bolton, like, and we're like, but
You're
we
like, wait,
never
what?
saw them.
Yeah.
I was actually anticipating a moment where like Lachlan came back and I was like, oh, he's not even showing up again. But then they're all in that scene literally like
Yeah.
for like half a second. So
Yeah.
whatever, he got a shout out for that reason. So as he says that, he's like, where's my dad? And the grandpa says, Archie, you were supposed to go get him. And then
Triggered.
he's like, look. So he wakes up from his dream. Veronica's like, what's wrong? And the whole episode starts with him saying, I have to get my dad. I have to bring him home. And I was like,
Dead. Triggered.
like right to the chest. And so then it starts back up and he gets pretty much everybody together.
The
He gets the
core
core
four,
four, and then
Reggie.
Reggie randomly shows
Reggie's
up.
like, yo, I had this hearse. He would
I
have
got
a horse too.
and a hearse, yeah. So
He's
he's
like,
like,
you could take it.
I got a hearse. And I'm glad that they did call it out that like Veronica was like, how do you and why do you have
Why
this
did they
hearse?
have one? Because
He's like, nobody wants to buy it. I'm like, yeah.
But why did they have one in the first place?
I don't know. Like he just has it. He just has it stored away.
I think they have like a car thing.
He's a car dealer. Like
Oh,
his family's a
true.
car dealer.
Okay,
but
so that
like,
makes
why do you
sense.
have a hearse specifically? Like it's kind of random.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. And so they all go down with him, and he shows up at the place, and they won't give him the body.
Yeah, the guy's like, hey, I love how the guy's like, hey, can I help you? How can I help you? Like, obviously he's here for his dad. Like, why would he be in a funeral home? Like, what is he gonna be here for?
Like
Yeah, and basically the gist is like, Archie's like, I came all the way here. I'm taking my dad home. And the guy's like, okay, cool, but I can't because you're not 18.
Because you're not 18.
So then
he calls
it
his
leads to the
mom.
funniest scene, I think, of the episode. Personally, like, I died. And we like said the same thing too. And like, so it cuts to like Mary and she answers the phone and he's like, Mom. And she's like, Archie, aren't you in your room sleeping? Like how do you not know where your son is? Like, did you not hear him leave?
In the middle of the night.
Like, your son's dad
her.
just died. Go check up on him. Like, open his door. Like, make sure he's okay. He's not crying himself to sleep. Like,
and also, like, you think that, like, Veronica, Betty, Jughead wouldn't be like, yo, could you tell your mom that you're leaving in the middle of the night because she might worry since she just lost her ex-husband. Like totally poorly planned. So
I died.
Whatever.
Anyway, so she was like, "Give me the guy now,"
She's
and then she like
give me the phone.
was basically like, "I'll sue your ass if you don't let my ex-husband go."
Yeah. So he ends up being able to get the body, but he first needs to declare it. He needs to say like, "Yes, this is my father." And first he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go in there." And then he gets scared.
They all like Mama. They all like Mama Mary.
Mama Mary.
Shouting out Mama Mary.
Yeah, she did a really good job for sure. Like just like lurking in at that point, but
sorry, I cut you off.
I was like, what? So he wants to go in, but he's like sad at the very last minute. He's like, I can't do it.
Like again, it was a moment where there was no like he hesitated, like he didn't have a line. He like walked up to the door, he stopped, and then that was it.
It just cut to
and then the girls went in. I was like, whoa.
And like the funeral or whatever, the coroner was like, oh, I thought he was gonna come in.
Yeah,
like,
like,
he
no,
couldn't
he
deal
can't
with
handle
it.
it.
So this is again another moment that like got me horrid. Like I was really sad about it. Betty walks in.
But can we just explain like the moment? Like okay, so like they walk in, it's so sad, like Luke Perry just died. So
we're sad.
It's sad. And then Betty and Veronica even hold hands, like so cute, like so emotional, like I got you, you got me, like we're good. Together. They come closer to like the casket, and then I'm like, okay, who do I look at first? I'm already like sad, I'm gonna cry. Yeah. And then I look at Veronica, but she's not crying. Like she's not like sad, and like it's not making me sad. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then look at Betty, and she's like, her eyes are like red, her nose is red. I'm like, triggered.
She's full crying. She's so sad, and that's what hit me. Like, it was as if Luke was in the casket the way that Lily presented it, and I was like, it's over. Like, here's where I'm gonna like
this is where I leave
for the rest of the episode. So, so then that happens, and then it cuts to
even Liv said Veronica doesn't seem as upset as Betty.
Is it an act? Okay, so question, guys. Now that you've put it out there, we're gonna put it on you guys because we don't want to take responsibility for it. But like, is it an acting thing or is it a choice? Like, did they tell Camila? You know what?
Tone it down a little bit.
You cannot be cry sad.
Wipe your tears.
Wipe your tears. You need to hold it in. Be stone cold fox like your dad. Like, is that her persona or is it just like her acting?
I think
like.
I do think the character. I do think the character of Veronica already is that like stoic, like cold ice queen. But this is also her boyfriend, and like her boyfriend's dad just died. Like she would have like these crazy emotions.
Yeah, and it's not like he was a full stranger. So I think she just met him like last year.
Is an amazing actress.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. So
it's true. Sierra said she said I don't know if it's an acting thing. Maybe she wanted to be strong for Archie, and I 100% agree with that. That's what I mean. Like she is the rock. She is so strong, Veronica, and so maybe she doesn't want to break down.
But
like she broke down when
in that moment she's with Betty, so she could have been like, "Girl,
I got you." Yeah, it's
like,
true.
I'm sad right now.
Yeah.
You know, like she could have done something that would have like made us feel like okay, like she is feeling something. She just like is trying to hold it together because we did see that in season 2 when Fred got shot and she was like, "I gotta be normal for my boyfriend." Like she didn't cry or anything. She just like had sex with him in the shower. So like,
see, that's what she does.
But like,
that's
is it because she's, but that's what I'm saying. Is it an acting choice or is it like a character?
I think the fact that
you're like choosing your words.
I think the fact
wisely.
That she might not be as like talented as Lily. I think the writer should go off of that. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't mean not talented. Like Camila is very talented.
Yeah.
I just mean like because maybe she can't get there.
They
should play off of that a little bit more to be like, she could play that strong role.
Betty's just a very good crier.
She is.
Like Lily Reinhardt
She
is
is.
a very good crier.
Yeah.
On screen.
They were all amazing. They really were.
Okay.
But like Madeline Petch, like was bawling.
She was like, "Ah!"
Like she
ugly
could,
crying.
like her eyes were closed the whole time. Like,
So speaking of her, so Cheryl comes over and she talks to Mary with Tony, and she says, you know, when JJ died, her brother died. She's like, all I felt was like a loneliness, and I was
we
like,
have Betty Cooper in the chat.
oh hey,
Betty Cooper says Veronica's Archie's rock. She's being strong for him. Also, she knew Fred the least of all the kids.
True.
Which is a good point. Someone else said that too on Twitter. I saw, and I was like,
very good point.
It's true, but like, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so Cheryl comes in and she's sad. She's like bawling already. She's feeling really bad for, you know, Mary, and even Mary's like, yo, you're like a little extra right now. Did you see her face? Like,
well, she's like, why are you here? Like, Archie's not here.
I'm so sad. I'm gonna do something for your family.
It was cute though. It was
like,
so cute.
It was very sweet.
Like taken, like she has no parents.
Yeah, she's like, I want to do something for your family when Archie returns, and we're like, what is it? And you realize at the end when everybody starts crying. So they go to the car. So one of the things that was also weird that we didn't really understand, but now we understand like why they just wanted to set it up. So you kind of just have to like leave it to what it is. Like a car on the side of the road would have been towed away, especially if it was a crime scene.
Yeah.
But they left his car there with all of his belongings, with the windows open. Like it was so like very specifically set up that way. And so they go to the car. Archie gets in. He finds like a picture.
I love this one.
He finds a picture of, you know, him and his mom like in the glove box, and it was just really sad. And as they're, you know, kind of rummaging through the car, another car rolls up behind them, and
Archie's like triggered. He's like,
girl.
"What are you doing here?"
He's pissed. He's like, "How do you know that she died? Like, what are you doing
and
here?"
she's like sad.
And she's about to like kind of like
Shannon
move
Doherty.
to the side. Oh yeah, by the way, it's Shannon Doherty. So Shannon Doherty makes her appearance, and already I'm like bawling.
Yeah.
Like I am crying.
The truck scene got me. I think one of the top 3 was the truck scene. Just because of the way it was shot, and like it was the first moment where he got to deal with his father's death alone. Like he closed the door on his friends, and it was just sitting in silence with his dad's shit. Like it was so real.
Yeah.
And now he has to pick up those pieces. It was just.
And also now he has to deal with like the reality of like there was somebody there, and like he's now starting to piece everything together. So he's like, "Who are you?" And it turns out that she was the one that he was helping when he died. So, and it's not even just like she was helping him and then he just gets hit by a car. Basically, they're both in the middle of the road trying to fix a tire. She's standing in the middle of the road for no reason.
She was.
Yeah, and then a car comes at them like out of nowhere, like speeding, and he pushes her out of the way, and then he gets hit. I thought it was just like a situation where like he's on the side of the road, because it does happen a lot. Like, people are just like, "Hey, are you doing okay?" And like
you're
literally
supposed to like go around,
hit by a car and dies. So I was like, "Shit!" He like literally like pushed her out of the way so she
like
can be
full
saved.
out heroic
And so
moment.
she says like, "He saved my life." And she starts crying, and it's Shannon Doherty, and you know the history.
It was just like
and
it was a beautiful cameo, really. It was. It worked, and then they started saying like a prayer, like
they fully did like an Our Father.
Oh my god! And then like it panned up to
Catholic
the sky.
High School, Our Father. Like,
panned up to the sky with a lens flare. Like you're killing me.
Yeah, it was really, really sad. I'm laughing so I don't cry right now, just as an FYI, guys.
Yeah, he died a hero. Like.
Yeah, so it cuts back to the diner, and I think it's Veronica that does say that actually. She says like, he died a hero, like your father died a hero. And Archie's already obviously still processing his feelings. He's basically saying, you know, as much as I like to think that he died, like it was so senseless for him to die that way. Like no one was with him, his family wasn't with him. Like he just died like on the side of the road by himself. Like it sucks. And he's just pissed. He gets a call from FP at this point, and he's like, the guy turned himself in. His name is George Augustine, and he's out on bail because he like turned himself in. He's fine. And Archie's like, where is he? What's his name? Like he's gonna go down for this. Like I'm so pissed off. And FP's like, chill. Like he's like, calm down, stand down. This is not what it's about. This is not what the season's gonna be about. Like we're not doing this right now. And And then he clicks the phone, and the music even ramps up. And I remember, like, as it was happening, I was like, come on, Archie.
You're like, oh, no,
please don't do this right now.
He sees a phone booth, and then he finds the address.
He finds
He's
an
like,
old
got
school
it.
address.
Rips the paper out of the phone book.
Yeah.
Goes to the house.
Yeah.
Knocks on the door.
Yep.
He's like, you killed my dad! And the guy's like, yeah! And he goes like, guy's like mid-cry.
He's mid-cry.
Because he feels so bad already.
He feels so bad. And he does say like one of the dumbest things that you should ever say. He's like, you killed my dad. And then his response was, calm down, son.
Like, that's so mean. Like, you know he doesn't have a dad anymore.
Why would you say that?
And then like Archie was like, you killed the only man that could say that to me.
Oh, God, I'm
Triggered.
so sad. Anyway, I can't get through this episode, I don't think.
KJ killed the scene. He really did.
So he's so angry, but then as he's like shoving the guy onto the wall and he's like punching the wall, whatever, he's just pissed off. A kid in the corner is like, stop, Daddy, stop.
He's like, I did it. It was my fault.
Yeah,
and I
so
was
it's like-
driving a car and I don't have a license.
Yeah.
And Archie's like, oh my God, that's me.
He's like,
4 years ago
I
in
stole
season
the car.
1.
Yeah, he's like, I stole the car. I don't even have my license. And like, it was my fault. I was the one that did it. My dad just took the blame. And the kid just like, he just like lets his dad hug the kid, and he like walks out of the
Jeffrey
house.
even said he'd be triggered if someone said that to him.
What?
Like the son thing.
Yeah, it's a hard
It's
thing
fucked
to
up.
hear for sure. So anyway, he's sitting at the front of George's house. Like George wasn't like, leave. He's like, you can sit.
You can
at the
sit on my
front-
stoop and like
sit
have
on
a
my
moment
stoop.
because I just killed your dad.
My son killed your dad. And he says, it was a great realization for Archie, I think, in this moment, because he says, as the core four kind of find him, he says to them, like, it wasn't even him. It was a kid that he was the dad was protecting his kid, and he remembered.
He's like, my dad would have done the
he would have
same
done
thing
the
for
same-
me because he's
yeah.
like, I'm that kid. Like
I was
I
that
was
kid.
doing
I'm
stupid
just as dumb as
stuff.
he
Like I
is.
would have and like we all know that. Like
Yeah.
this guy got beat up by a bear. Like we all know the decision that he's made or like situations he's gone through. Like why
Right.
did you run away from home? Like we know
Right.
we've seen that.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel for him.
And he says, like, I'm a
it's-
terrible son.
Yeah, like he blames
feels bad
himself,
for-
of
he-
course.
He feels bad for like doing what he just did. He was like, I just attacked a stranger in his house, and like who am I? Like my dad would be so upset with me. And this is when one of my favorite lines come up. But essentially, Veronica says, "You're not a terrible son. I think your dad would understand under these circumstances." And going back to Barchie, if you want to go back to Barchie really quickly, there is a moment where Archie starts to spiral and he starts to feel really bad for the whole situation, and you see Betty being like, like, Veronica, like, get in there.
Yes, she
You notice
nudges
that?
her. Okay, I rewatched the scene for this
For this
reason.
reason?
For this reason, I rewatched the scene because I was like, in this moment, is Betty gonna be the one to be like Archie? Don't worry.
Right.
But it's
She
not.
like gave it to
It's
him.
Veronica.
She gave it to her.
But you're right. Betty was like,
Betty's like,
she doesn't go like
you
this, but
gotta
she's
do
like,
it.
and then Veronica's
Veronica's
like, okay.
She's like, what? She's like, I'm awake. It's my cue.
She's like, I have money.
Poor girl. So yeah, she ends up saying something that is my best line. So I'll leave that to the very end. But she tries to make him feel better,
And she does.
And she does. And the final thing that she says is, "You're gonna do what you were set out to do. You're gonna bring your dad home now."
Triggered.
And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. So we're getting to the end of the episode, and I'm gonna like
Can you
do it
Phoenix?
slowly.
Okay, so then it cuts to
Yeah. So FP meets them
bringing him
halfway
home.
through,
Bringing him home.
and he asks if he can do a police escort home.
Yeah.
And this was the moment that like got me probably the hardest.
Yeah.
Outside of like probably later on in the episode, like the very end, but it's the slow motion shot.
This is the part where I started to feel a little bit better. I was like, okay, everything's good. Like we're good. Like we're past like the
like,
hardest
we're
part.
moving
Like
on.
he's
We're
gonna
good.
come home now, but then like they're gonna do fireworks, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna be happy. And then it like hits you like a ton of bricks. And then you're like, oh no, there's a parade.
There's a full parade. So
With, like,
that's what
Fred
Cheryl
signs.
ended up like doing for the family. She gets like the entire town out for Fred, and everybody in the town is there. And it's not even, it was the music too.
It was the music. It was
I
the
think it
slow
was like a Radiohead
motion.
song or something.
It was like the slow motion of it all.
It was the slow motion, but like it was seeing a sign, and it didn't even say Luke's name. It said, "Welcome home, Fred," and I was like,
Dead.
I'm telling you guys right now that I have to laugh through this entire podcast because if I sit with the emotion too long, I'm gonna start crying. So like,
I couldn't rewatch that moment again. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I
it
mean?
was
I couldn't
sad.
because I was like, I started
like
to
if
cry
you want
again.
to
And
cry, watch
yeah.
that part of the episode.
It's just a beautiful scene, you know, like the characters too. Like Archie's looking around and he's like almost shocked at like the
Yeah.
turnout of people and like.
It was. I feel like
And
it
you
was,
know what? It was more than just Fred. And this is why they say Fred Andrews is Riverdale, because looking around and seeing this town finally come together after this freaking crazy season 3,
Yeah.
where everyone was so effing crazy, seeing them come together as a town, like a small town community, to honor this one guy,
Yeah.
like it made me feel like I'm back in Riverdale. Like this is the Riverdale that I fell in love with from season 1. And
For
it was just
sure.
like a bigger kind of like welcoming back to even the town, like to be
Yeah.
like, guys, like we're going back home.
for sure.
For Fred and for like even us as the audience.
Yeah. And yeah, people are saying like, I can't believe Riverdale made me this emotional. Betty Cooper in the chat says, where were all these people when Fred was running for mayor?
But that's what I was saying. I was like, are these people all voted for him? Like,
I mean, it was a close
race, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that was a really hard moment to watch. You see all these slow motion shots of you see like Cheryl with Tony and like one of
Tony's holding the
babies.
baby.
I was
So
like,
random.
okay. And then you see like Pop, and then you just see all these characters from the show, and they're all smiling, and like all I wanted to do was break down, which is what I was doing anyway. And they roll up,
And
they
it only
roll
gets
up-
worse from there, basically.
It only gets worse from there because as soon as they roll up, the family's waiting for them at the front of the house. So it's
Oh my God, I died.
it's Mary, it's like
Mary
Kevin,
killed me. No, but
it's
Mary
not even
killed
just
me.
Kevin. It's Josie is back in town.
Mary
with her dad.
hugged Archie like
Yeah,
it was like, you know,
it was just sad.
yeah.
And she was like, "You did this for your father. Like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
He would be so proud of you." It was just a very sweet moment, like to see them together. And then it's the funeral, and of
Josie
course,
singing.
Josie sings "Amazing Grace."
She's like, man.
Just like
It's nice.
it's just really sad.
It's nice.
It's
I mean,
really
it's sad, but like, I'm glad they brought her back.
Beautiful.
It's just like the whole cast was there.
Yeah.
Everyone was crying, and like, you know, they had Luke's picture, and everyone's like throwing like the rose on like the
But everybody's
casket.
bawling.
But like when Mads went up, I died again. Like I was already like crying, snotting, and then when she went and she was like bawling.
Yeah.
That's it. I was like, I can't. I'm
The hardest
done.
thing is to watch these characters knowing
Because
that they knew him.
It's not their character. It's like the actual
It's them.
actor is crying. Like,
It's like
so,
you're basically watching Luke's funeral.
yeah, yeah.
So watching
Yeah.
these characters put the roses down, like you see them, they're all like a full out mess, and it's just like really sad to watch. So
Yeah,
that
Archie's
happens.
speech.
Archie does a speech,
Oh,
and
God.
one of the big things that he says is like, you know, when I have my own kids, I want to be able to tell them that, you know, your grandpa made this with his hands, like because he had a construction business.
Yeah.
He like basically helped build the town, and it was a beautiful speech. And he
I can't believe he's
says,
dead.
I know.
It's so weird.
It's really fucked. It's really fucked, and it's really sad. But that being said, on that point, like it was a beautiful way to send off a character. Like I don't think I've ever seen anybody
No.
send off a character the way that they did.
You know, yeah. It's just
They did it beautifully.
I think just Fred Andrews as a character is so ingrained in what Riverdale is, in
Yeah.
what Archie is. Like, you know, they're just so tied to each other, and like there were so many moments even in the past seasons where like we did talk about Fred's passing before
Yeah.
he obviously passed away, right? Like, so now that it actually did happen for real, it just feels so like unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a hard watch for sure. Like it's like I can't believe moving forward, like he's probably not going to be mentioned as much.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of gonna not be erased, but they're not gonna revisit this at all. Like
It's weird,
like,
right?
It was a
'Cause
case closed. Like it's not like he was like was a mystery murder. Or
Yeah,
anything.
no,
Like,
that's done.
It's done.
But I think
right?
what's interesting, like in the comics, like wherever Archie goes, it's dictated by other things that happen to him in his life. He's never had his dad die in the comics.
Yeah.
Like something like this, like losing a parent at that age, like it changes you forever. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the writers like develop his character, with losing his dad. Like, how
Yeah.
does that shape someone? How does that, like, maybe he had dreams to go to college somewhere else and leave
Yeah.
Riverdale. And now he's like, no, I don't want to leave Riverdale. Like, Riverdale's
This
my
is-
dad.
this is
Like,
my
this
dad,
is where I
yeah.
feel closest to my dad, and he won't want to leave.
And we did mention this like last season, and even when it first happened, when we found out that Luke had passed, like the idea that Fred's character also lost his dad in a similar way,
Yeah,
where it was like
yeah.
sudden, he had a heart attack, or no, he was sick. His dad was sick at the time, like in that flashback episode that we watched, he was sick at the time, but then he dies while Archie is like, or sorry, Fred was
Fred's-
on drugs
or like playing gargoyles or whatever.
playing Griffins
Yeah.
and Gargoyles. So, like his character also grew up with a father,
Yeah.
and so just knowing that is kind of like inadvertently, and because it's obviously they did not plan this, but it was inadvertently the same situation for Archie's character and for Archie and for that world. So it's just what we have to deal with. So as everybody's leaving the funeral, the lady comes up to them again. I don't know, the organizer of dead bodies or whatever. She's
Yeah.
like, it was a beautiful service. And Veronica's like, tell me what the money is. Like, tell
She's
me what the
like,
bill
"Here's
is.
your
Like, I'm
cash
gonna take care of
money."
it. And the gag is,
The guy gets daddy paid.
yeah,
Daddy
Hiram
paid for everything.
paid for everything.
Which I don't understand
Through
how that
jail.
makes sense, because his assets would be seized if he was in
Yeah,
jail. Like, it
like,
doesn't make sense.
Did he have a secret PayPal account? Like,
Yeah,
how did
like,
that happen?
No. But
I thought
cute, but that was
I
so
will say
cute.
that it was cute.
It
I
was
was like,
cute.
what a great gesture, but like definitely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
it
in
wouldn't
real
make
life.
sense.
And things don't get harder, like easier for us.
No.
Because even Betty gets a moment with her father at his grave.
Which honestly, we were talking about it too, and I'm like, oh my god, her dad died. Like,
Yeah.
we're going through all this for Archie's dad, and like, poor Hal, like, not poor Hal because he was a killer, but like, we didn't even get to sit with that. Like, she lost a parent.
And
it's
like
huge.
we were listening to I was reading a lot of comments and a lot of like Twitter, like on Twitter, people were saying this, and they were saying like, it was such an underrated moment. I mean, we're calling it out because it was such a great moment, but it's one of those things where Betty, while everybody's celebrating Fred, she gets to her father's grave, and while she can't love her father the same way, it's still her father.
Oh, of course.
And like seeing how people kind of like wrote graffiti, it was like Black Hood, go to hell or
Yeah.
whatever on his gravestone, she still has to find a way to mourn that experience because
he was her dad before
He was
season
her-
2, so.
yeah, it was just
You know what? And I think that just shows you how crazy the show did get. Like, we're honoring Fred, and because he was such a real person, like he was such a real character, he was such a real dad.
Yeah.
This girl's dad like went off and did the like weirdest shit. Like, it didn't make sense. So it's like, I wish she had a normal dad.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't get so crazy where you can feel this a little bit of mourning, but we don't, because it was so weird and it was so like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you forget that it was her dad.
It was her dad, and she still has the right to feel sad about it. And like I think also Lily is able to pull those emotions and like really like kind of figure her own like way of doing it. And she didn't say anything. She didn't speak to the grave. She wasn't like,
Sierra.
what is
Sierra's like, that's why I wanted to see between Betty and Archie, like they both lost their fathers. See, like that's so true. They could have had that moment. Like, she could have been like,
Archie, man.
I feel for you, but then he would have been like, your dad was a killer. Like, calm down.
you tried to kill my dad.
Yeah,
You tried to
seriously.
shoot my dad in season 2. So yeah, that was sad. I will say it was really sad.
So then they go home, right?
They go home, and Jughead writes, I guess, an obituary. He says, like, Fred Andrews in memoriam. That's how it all kind of starts. He's got a little tear coming down his eyes, and then he starts writing, and it's like this big speech. I didn't write it down because I was gonna cry if I translated the entire thing. But it cuts to basically every character that's around in the story. So it cuts to FP in his office, and it cuts to Mary like looking at pictures of him, and it cuts to Pop from the diner.
I love in Archie's speech. He's like, my dad was a great tipper, and Pop's like, yeah, he was.
Oh, it was Jughead in his Jughead's Memoriam.
Oh, Jughead, and then
he
Pop
reads
says
He's like,
it.
true. He's like,
That
sure was.
amazing.
It's like, that's amazing. A nice little comedic moment. And like
Yeah,
such
it
a
was
sad
cute.
thing.
It was cute.
Hermione is in jail. reading
Hermione's like
newspaper.
in her little socks and orange
Like,
jumpsuit.
she's literally
and
like,
she's
orange
like
is the new black.
bawling.
She's bawling.
She's like, my lover.
And how did you feel about this? Because
Well, I
I think there
liked
was
it.
mixed reviews online. People were like, of course they had to like include her in this
Look,
sadness, even though she's away.
I don't think she meant it in like a romantic way.
No.
I think it was like for what they shared in their past. Like he's gone. And like again, like Fred is Riverdale, so like to her it just means like, you know, yeah, he's dead.
He's gone.
I liked it. I think they needed to show
They
the
needed to
parents.
show
They have to show the parents.
They showed Hiram.
They showed
in his
Hiram, and he
jail,
was like
and he was
sad.
reading
He was
newspaper.
sad too.
I think everybody got to have a moment. Alice got to have
Alice
a
was
moment.
crying. Alice was like kind of gagged, and I was like, didn't you know
She
he
was,
died?
yeah.
She was like,
oh, I guess maybe she wasn't because she was in the cult, right? Like she's like on the run
oh,
or whatever.
true.
So she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're
Like, she
right.
didn't really
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what happened. So, yeah, it was really sad to see everybody. And then one of the final parts of the episode is everybody decides to like do fireworks.
Yeah, in the backyard.
And also a moment of me bawling is
I just loved, sorry, I'm just setting it up because I did love the way the scene kind of starts with like, you know, Mary's looking at old pictures of Fred and then Archie comes. It just, the set of the home felt so warm this episode. Like,
Yeah.
like I felt like I was there with them in the home.
For sure.
And Archie comes and he's like, Mom, like they're ready. And then she gets up and then like he hugs her. They come out to the backyard. Like everything just felt so organic and like so real.
yeah.
And then they go to the yard and like the fireworks start and like it's slow motion and everyone's like so like they're like happy and Archie's like standing there and then it kind of like stops but then like he kind of like walks away. He walks to the garage.
Yeah. But still just talking about that firework moment.
Yeah.
Just because I really want to talk about it because it made me so sad, was seeing every single character kind of lined up on that backyard before he like goes out and sits down with everybody was so emotional because it was like you were seeing a picture of all the Archie characters, just comic book characters. Like they were all like specifically put into like their kind of classic outfits, you could say.
Yeah.
And
like Reggie was in his
they're
like
all just
Letterman
standing
jacket.
there and full silence. Like there wasn't like this swell of music. It was just like this very soft, like here they are. This is what this show is. And I think that was my moment to watch. And I was like, this is what this show is. This is what the heart is. And I don't know. It just
And
made me
it's so
really
powerful. You don't need freaking Griffins and Gargoyles. You don't need Hood. Like this is what this show is. Like
Right.
these really iconic characters, these friends, like they feel like a family when they're together, you know?
For sure.
And they help each other out. And for me, I think the hardest thing to get through was the final scene. Because then
Yeah.
Archie kind of looks over everyone. And again, like it just shows you the character and leader that Archie is and how KJ plays him. Like he's looking out on his friends and he's like making sure everyone's having a good time. And like obviously like he can't be in the moment as much because he's going through his own things.
Yeah.
But he walks away and he walks into the garage. And they did it absolutely beautifully. Was it quiet or was there music? I think there was like a soft
music in the background.
soft like melody and like
background.
and then as he's walking
He's,
through
like,
the walls, like it cuts to the scene of like
Yeah.
Fred doing the soundproofing of the walls. And then he walks to the car and he touches the car and like it's the scene of Fred and Archie, like, you know, it's just like it takes
like
you
when
back.
like because
It
they
totally-
shot these moments.
yeah.
So like it's like him when he first got the jalopy and he like is so excited to work on the car, and like it's also like when he has to buy it back from Hiram or
I think it was
whatever, and,
brilliant.
like,
I think that
seeing
scene
those
was
moments
brilliant
again and
to,
just seeing
to
it-
bring those scenes in. You know
it
what I
was
mean?
just
Like
so it gives me shivers just
Yeah.
thinking about it because like I was very emotional watching it again, and like it was people were not ready for
and
the flashbacks. Like,
I definitely was not
not
ready. And then I think the also part that got me the second moment was like when Archie just puts his hands on the car and he starts breaking down.
yeah, because
Like they could have just like held him walk out, but no, like he broke down in private again. Like there's no one else around, and he just was like sobbing. And the lights and like the camera like zooms out and like the lights go dim and like there's just like a photo, like a spotlight on the photo of
Yeah.
him and Archie. And like that's how the episode finishes.
And
It was, like,
basically,
epic.
I
It
cried
was
like
so
all the way to
epic.
the very
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
Like it was such a beautiful episode. I'm so proud of them.
I wouldn't have done anything differently. It was perfect.
It was
perfection.
perfect. It was a perfect
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. And if this is what, you know, season 4 is going to be, not obviously about this, but like if this is the tone that they're going to use, this really like authentic looking, you know, small town America vibe
Yeah.
town, which is what they were in the beginning. If this is what they can continue to do, I'm down. Like I'm going to be happy.
100%. I'm just getting us ready for our recap roundups. We'll give you guys a second in the chat to give us your best moments, WTF moments.
Yeah, everyone liked the
MVPs,
flashback
LVPs.
for sure.
But before we get into ours, I just wanted to call out some of the ones that we got online on our Twitter last night. And I'm just looking for them. Sorry, guys. This is just going to be the experience. You got to experience right now. Just 1 second.
The live, the realness.
The liveness of it all. So we have Postmaster Radio saying his best moment was Archie's speech at the service. His WTF moment was the painful reminder that Luke is no longer with us. May his memory live on forever. That's very true. And MVP is the entire cast for pouring so much heart and soul into the episode. And he doesn't have an LVP. And finally, his best line was Fred Andrews will always be a part of Riverdale, which is a part of Archie's speech.
Yeah.
We have Betty Nancy Drew Snooper, who said the prayer and the parade had her crying, a big moment.
The prayer was beautiful.
We have at C. Cedric, I think, saying KJ really brought it this episode. Luke would have been proud. Shannon's appearance was also really nice. There were some really great moments. What do we have on the chat in terms of best moments?
Let me see. Is anyone writing anything in
Anybody?
the episode?
Anybody?
The last scene was the hardest. Kudos to Roberto for airing this episode. Mad respect for everyone involved.
Cheryl didn't want to celebrate the 4th, but at the end she was the one to plan
Yeah.
the parade and set off fireworks. I think it was
Yeah.
really sweet too.
You know,
for sure.
everyone had a great like contribution to this episode, I would say.
Earlier in the chat, I wanted to say this earlier, but like we were already moving on to more sad moments. But someone said, Betty Cooper in the chat says, Cheryl lighting the fireworks, what a pyro. It's like all she does
Yeah.
is like light
Like,
things on
yeah.
fire. Okay, do you want to get into our recap?
Yeah,
roundups?
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Recap roundups.
Best moment.
So imagine this with music, because
yeah.
normally we have like.
My best moment, I think, is the last scene in the garage. I think from his acting, from
So
Cage's
powerful.
acting, from the music, from
So
the editing
powerful.
of bringing in the old scenes in like it was just so beautiful. I really hope this episode gets nominated for some sort of award, some sort of accolade, because it was just production-wise, they effing nailed it.
Yeah.
And this scene killed
agree.
me. Like it really killed me. Like I thought I was gonna like not cry anymore, and then I was
And then
done.
you just kept crying. Yeah.
Seeing KJ like lose it, it was really, really hard to watch.
Yeah. Mine is gonna go to the moment where they bring him in the car and like there's the whole parade kind of lined up with everybody. And like I said, seeing that sign saying welcome home, Fred, like just got me like dead. Like I was so sad.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
My WTF moment, I think I'm gonna say Hiram paying the bill.
Yeah.
Because I did not see
I was
that
like,
coming at all.
What?
But it was cute. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, Daddy, you're still out there somewhere, and like you're good.
You're good.
You're
you did
good-ish.
good. Like you didn't
Yeah.
want to kill him. You just wanted him to like suffer. But like this
Yeah.
is your version of like being
Helping.
Like, sorry about it.
Yeah.
He still has a heart. I'm gonna give my WTF moment. It's not as much like a oh my god. It's more like oh wow.
Yeah.
Shannon Doherty coming in as the character that
He
he
saved.
saves on the
Yeah.
side of the road, and I think that was a really sweet moment. But I was also very like shocked because I didn't realize
Yeah.
how she was
Yeah.
gonna get put in.
And I
but
loved
the way
it.
they put her in was like
Yeah.
mint. So well
Yeah.
done.
MVP.
MVP.
My MVP is gonna go to all the writers, the director,
Like,
the producers, the sound engineers,
For sure.
the freaking gaffer people, the editor, like every
Everybody.
person that like worked, actors, the writers, like everyone that was a part of this episode, you guys did him so right. you
You
did
should
us
be
right
really-
as fans of the
Yeah.
show. Like, this is probably one of their best
Strongest
episodes, probably of
episodes,
the entire
yeah.
series. I could say that, like, confidently, like,
Yeah.
even when this is done, because they just did such an amazing job with it. So
Like,
my MVP is gonna
100%.
go to them
I
for
definitely
sure.
like tweeted it out and I said like this is an episode that you guys should be very proud of, like from beginning to end. Everybody that was a part of it. It was such a beautiful send off. Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that on television. And we watch a lot of television, so it was a beautiful thing to watch. And no, thank you for it. It was beautiful. My MVP, because I wanted to like try to find one singular person to like kind of bring it together and base it more on like the actual show, like Riverdale. I'm gonna give it to Archie, but also give it to KJ Apa. Like I feel like his
100%,
acting chops were like
100%.
performance to the tits. Like he's such
proved
a good
himself.
job. I think knowing who Archie, like who KJ Apa was, like he was obviously the closest to Fred in terms of like who he worked with.
Yeah.
He played his father figure. Like his dad was in a lot of scenes with him, whatever. And just knowing that, you know, he had to go through that and he still was able to perform the way he performed. He had to be angry in an episode where all he probably wanted to do was cry. You know, like there was no need for him to be angry in real life because Luke passed away.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
kind of like with his family, and like, you know, it was like a natural death, where this was more, you know, like he had to be upset. He had to like want to fight somebody, and all, you know, he went through all the stages of grief, which are not always necessary for every person that deals with grief. And I think that watching him go through it this episode, I was like, he's such a great actor and he did such a great job. And I'm really proud of like the character of Archie. And I feel like his new change and how he's like, I'm going to make my father proud. Like all those things were just like really amazing things to watch on screen. And I think Archie and KJ Apa did a phenomenal job.
Agreed.
LVP.
LVPs, we both collectively agreed. Like I was going through it, I'm like, I'm not doing this.
I think everyone was.
There was not one person that I didn't even want to do it as a joke. I didn't want to be like, oh, Pop Tate. Like even Pop Tate pulled through. Like
Like Pop Tate pulled through that
everybody was
comment. Like
great.
that made me laugh when I was like bawling my eyes out.
No,
So
I think that there's no LVP this episode for the first time ever.
everyone's good. Everyone's safe, right?
Everyone's safe. Next week, we'll see.
The best line.
What was your best line?
My best line, I really like the one from Postmaster Radio, the one that he said Fred Andrews is always Riverdale. What was it?
Yeah,
Something like that.
like you'll always be a part of it.
Yeah, but the one I wrote down was when the guy's like, come on, son, or something. And then Archie's like, you took away the only man that could call me that. And I was like, oh my God, like the realization hit me again.
Yeah,
and I was like, bah.
Fuck. Mine is Veronica when she's at the front with him. And this was the one line that I was telling you guys about that I wanted to say, where she says, your dad loved you more than anything and anyone else. Whenever he looked at you, there was pride in his eyes.
Yeah.
And
That was sad. A lot of WTF moments. Cheryl talking to Jason and the dream sequence. WTF moment is when Cheryl talks to Jason. MVP,
True, I forgot
everyone
all about
involved. So yeah, thanks guys for commenting and letting us know what you guys thought. It sounds like everyone loved the episode. We're all on the same page, and I think it's like the best place to start this season. I'm so looking forward to what they do for the rest of it. And I think this is a great way to like honor Luke Perry and Fred Andrews. And like we're always gonna remember him, like always.
He's always
He's a part of Archie's story no matter what,
yeah,
right?
it doesn't matter what happens moving forward. But of course we're gonna get into like there's the season's still the season. We're really
he's got to get through his senior year without his dad. So
so before we get to like the final end of it, just because this is the premiere episode, we got through the In Memoriam episode. I wanted to quickly talk about maybe just one thing that kind of rose up through the Twitterverse as, in between the premiere and stuff. Alert. Hermione and Hiram have
Hermosa.
a secret daughter.
Hermosa Lodge.
Hermosa Lodge. First, I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke until I saw the picture the press photo that they posted
Yeah.
with the girl, the actress. So what? They have a daughter,
So they have a daughter, but is it a secret
and she looks
daughter?
older than Veronica.
She's
So I feel like it
older.
must have happened before.
So like, did
yeah,
they give
happened
her?
before.
Like, did they done give her up?
I don't know.
What
I
was the
feel like they've done the
situation?
adoption storyline. I don't know if I'm down for that.
But also, like, I was thinking, like, is Kelly coming back? Like, is it like his mistress's daughter?
No, because I think whatever happens is gonna bring them back together.
True.
I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, the next step for Hiram and Hermione is to be together.
We do see Hiram and Hermione, which we didn't get to do a reaction video for, but we do see them
Oh, yeah.
literally like going.
But how? They're
at
in
it.
jail.
Oh,
Maybe that's a
Flashback.
flashback.
it's a flashback. It's definitely a flashback for sure. Because they did say they're gonna do a flashback episode, but it might not be
Okay,
like
but they
a
still got their
90s
50s.
flashback episode. They have to like.
Yo, you're
tighten
right.
up
In
their
like
makeup.
90s. It could have been 90s.
they
Yeah,
could
yeah.
definitely
Oh, I'm
do something
so
else, like,
down for
later,
that.
to tell us like what happened to everybody.
Yeah,
How they
I'm
all.
down, I'm down, I'm
how
down,
they
I'm down.
all like broke down after high school.
Yeah.
That's it from us. Quick announcement again, and we mentioned at the top of the episode. Make sure that you guys are doing our contest, submitting your
Submitting the
comments
reviews.
and your
Yeah.
reviews to iTunes.
On iTunes only.
Rate
Yeah.
us up to 5 stars. Hopefully, just 5 stars. I'm like, this is in your face.
No
sorry.
4 stars.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. You'll get a chance to win an Amazon.
Yeah, we're
$50
literally
gift
giving
card.
you guys a free gift card. So
Like,
just go on iTunes. If
we're
you're
bribing
Apple,
you.
if you're
Okay?
Apple, go on iTunes and rate us. Type in recap rewind, and then look for Riverdale.
Yeah. I would also like to take the time to thank our patrons of the episode, Rewinder Squad White, and our late rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, Soleil, Kate, and Jessica.
Thanks,
and
guys.
Our mommy
Ooh.
rewinders, of course, Becca,
Moms.
Sarah, Tamala, and Grace.
And if you guys would like to join our Patreon family, join us at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
Yeah.
Because you get access to like all things recap rewind, like contests. Well, they're already in a contest.
But, like,
Exclusive content, you
yeah.
know, all that good.
Mhm.
And now that you've seen our faces, it's sort of just like you know what we look like
special.
now.
Yeah, now it's like we're connected.
Yeah.
We're here.
So
for you.
patreon.com/recap_rewind. It helps us out.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're like basically
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
And we're on pretty much every podcast, like Google
iTunes?
Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, following, reviewing, and commenting to stay engaged with Recap Rewind. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate that you guys were here for us through this amazing episode. And
time for bed.
that's it.
Bye.
Bye.